In the summer of 1936, the eyes of the world turned to Berlin. The Olympic Games, meant to celebrate unity and peace, became a stage for power, propaganda, and resistance. In 1931, Berlin was chosen to host the 1936 Olympics, before the Nazis had come to power. When Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1933, he was initially uninterested in the Games, but that changed. Minister for Public Enlightenment and Propaganda Joseph Goebbels convinced Hitler that the Olympics could advance the Nazi cause and showcase the so-called German master race. Masking the growing repression within Germany, the Nazis went all out, building massive stadiums and planning every detail to make Germany look powerful, peaceful, and modern. The most unforgettable story from these games is Jesse Owens. He was a black athlete from the US, and he completely dominated, winning 4 gold medals right in front of Hitler. This shattered the Nazi myth of Aryan racial superiority. His victories were not only athletic achievements, they were acts of quiet defiance against hatred and oppression. After the second day of competition, Goebbels wrote in his diary, "We Germans won a gold medal, the Americans 3, of which 2 were Negroes. That is a disgrace. White people should be ashamed of themselves." But Owens' brilliance on the track could not be ignored. He became a global symbol of excellence and resistance, though he would return to a segregated America that still failed to honor him equally. The Games were carefully orchestrated propaganda. Foreign visitors saw a sanitized version of Germany. Anti-Semitic signs were taken down, but behind the scenes, the Nazi regime was already planning war and genocide. Jewish athletes faced exclusion and discrimination. Some countries debated boycotting the Games, but ultimately 49 nations competed, and the propaganda succeeded in masking the truth, for a time. At first glance, the 1936 Olympics looked like a huge success. The crowds were massive, the venues were impressive, and the world seemed united for 2 weeks of sport. But the truth is, all of it was carefully staged. The Nazi regime used the Games as a massive PR stunt. Foreign visitors saw clean, modern, welcoming Germany, while behind the scenes, the government was already pushing anti-Semitic laws and preparing for war. Just 3 years later, Hitler invaded Poland, starting World War II. The same leader who smiled from the stands at the Olympics became the one who unleashed destruction across Europe. The Games gave the Nazi regime a global platform and made it harder for the world to see what was really coming. The 1936 Olympics didn't just disappear into history, they left a mark. They showed how powerful propaganda can be, and how big events can be used to hide injustice. Many athletes later said they regretted competing. They felt their presence helped make Nazi Germany look normal. Even though the world eventually saw the truth, by then it was too late. The Games also proved that sport and politics are never fully separate. What happens on the field can reflect and challenge what's happening in the world. The 1936 Olympics are still relevant today because we still live in a world where image can be everything. Countries still host big events to improve their reputations or distract from what's really going on at home. It reminds us to look deeper, to ask, what's the story behind the show? What are we not seeing? Jesse Owens' victories didn't stop the war, but they told the truth about human strength and dignity in a time of lies. The Nazi Olympics teach us that silence, even at an event meant for peace, can have consequences. But they also teach us that one person, one runner, can still make a statement that echoes through history. We should care about this story today because we live in a time where truth can be blurred and image is often more powerful than reality. The lesson is to not be fooled by appearances, to stay informed, speak out, and remember that even in dark times, there's always room for courage, resistance, and hope. One of the hardest truths about this Olympics is how many people stayed silent. Some athletes, journalists, and officials saw what was happening in Germany, but chose to look the other way. They may have believed that sports should stay separate from politics, or maybe they just didn't want to risk speaking up. But silence can be powerful too. By showing up and playing along, they helped the Nazi regime sell its image of control and unity. It gave Hitler time to build support, both at home and abroad. It's a reminder that being neutral isn't always harmless. Sometimes silence helps the wrong side.